So friends, as a Colorado State Court judge prepares to rule on whether Donald Trump is disqualified from holding office again, I can't help but feel that there is a question that we as a people, as a nation, are neglecting to ask. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, we're expecting a decision from a Colorado State Court judge, Judge Sarah Wallace, on whether Donald Trump is disqualified from serving as president, disqualified from ever again holding public office because he engaged in an insurrection. Here is some of the new reporting, this from CBS News. Headline, Decision expected Friday on whether former President Donald Trump is eligible for Colorado's primary ballot. And that article begins, a Denver District Court judge is expected to decide this week whether former President Donald Trump is eligible for Colorado's 2024 primary ballot. Closing arguments in a lawsuit filed by 6 Colorado voters wrapped up Wednesday. Sean Grimsley, an attorney for the petitioners, argues that Trump engaged in an insurrection by inciting a violent mob to attack the U.S. Capitol on January 6th to try to stop the peaceful transfer of power. He says that makes him ineligible to hold office under the 14th Amendment. Quote, such a person has proven themselves untrustworthy and incapable of ensuring we remain a country ruled by law and not by men. Through his actions and his actions alone, Donald Trump has disqualified himself from ever holding office again, he said. Trump's attorney, former Colorado Secretary of State Scott Gessler, says there's no evidence that Trump intended to incite violence, and violence, he says, doesn't equal an insurrection. This from Trump's lawyer. Quote, I would say, as if the petitioner's case, the foundation of it is rotted. It is a rotten foundation. The January 6th report was originally used for political purposes to sort of an election issue, and that has failed. I mean, like it or not, for the office, President Trump remains reliable, in many instances considered a leading candidate for the presidency, he said. He says the lawsuit amounts to election interference and is based entirely on the January 6th committee's report, which he says is completely one-sided. The trial, which ended 2 weeks ago, included testimony from D.C. riot police, rally-goers, constitutional experts, and 2 members of Congress. So no, it wasn't based on the January 6th committee's report. If petitioners succeed, their lawsuit could provide a playbook for other states. So friends, based on the evidence, not on the hyperbole or the histrionics or the January 6th House Select Committee report, based on the evidence, Judge Wallace should conclude, should find, should rule that absolutely Donald Trump engaged in and gave aid and comfort to an insurrection. I mean, here are just half a dozen facts that support that conclusion. 1, Donald Trump corruptly pressuring state legislators, sending his attorneys down to Georgia to lie about election fraud. 2, Donald Trump corruptly persuading state election officials, the just find me 11,870 votes phone call to Brad Raffensperger. 3, Donald Trump's corrupt pressure campaign on his Vice President Mike Pence. Quote, you know what your problem is, Mike. You're too honest. 4, Donald Trump launching the angry mob on January 6th, telling them go to the Capitol and stop the steal. 5, Donald Trump pouring gas on the fire during the attack on the Capitol. Quote, Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what he should have done. 6, Donald Trump giving aid and comfort to the insurrectionists, pledging pardons and his love to the rioters. And friends, there are 100 more facts where those came from. But you know, I can't help but feel like there is a question we're neglecting to ask ourselves, and maybe it's a question we should try to answer, and it's this. Do we have to let someone pursue the presidency who tried to cling to power contrary to the expressed will of the American voters? Do we have to let someone pursue the presidency who has said that if elected, he would cancel the Constitution? Do we have to let someone pursue the presidency who has pledged to deploy the military against the American people? And do we have to let someone pursue the presidency who has, in a very real and direct and determined sense, tried to bring an end to American democracy? So friends, really the fundamental question is, do we have to let a person like that pursue the presidency? You know, are we as a nation, as a people, required to let Donald Trump pursue the presidency if his goal is to end our great American experiment? Does some notion of freedom demand that we let Donald Trump pursue the presidency if he's trying to end our republic? Put another way, are we required to freedom our democracy to death? If so, I guess we might as well just check our common sense at the door. Just leave it behind. You know, I actually take some comfort in the likelihood, the strong likelihood, that judges will begin to rule, to conclude, to find that, of course, Donald Trump engaged in insurrection. Of course, Donald Trump gave aid and comfort to the insurrection and the insurrectionists. He's doing it to this day. And I also take comfort in the fact that a jury is almost certainly going to convict Donald Trump for his last criminal attempt to cling to power over the expressed will of the American voters, his last attempt to try to end our democracy. So maybe it's an academic question. If we as a nation are required to freedom our democracy to death, because Donald Trump will be tried, he will be convicted, he will be held accountable for his last go-round of trying to end American democracy. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.